everyone, Joe here from ActionX. Welcome to What's in the Tube, or welcome back. It's your 11th, the Rookie Season 8 episode review. Hope you're doing well. Hope you're staying safe out there in the big old world. We're currently in the bit of a recovery stage right now with our content. I'm mostly focusing on What's in the Tube right now, getting caught back up with that, and then moving into back to other content that we've been doing. As we are, continuously to rework and realign our schedule. So I do apologize. There is a delay on the Rookie. I know we just had an episode review. I think it came out the day I was recording the review that we just posted. So we're still got a bit of ways to go. I don't believe I'll be cut off live until the next episode, if I'm being realistic or not. But again, we we will stay tuned until that, for the time being. But again, so with that being said, however, going down into the brass tacks of it, I find this episode to be a bit back to basics, setting up, I'm assuming, to be the next major focal point, continuing from last week, kind of like teaming off something this week. I feel like we're in the point where like certain first half storylines are finally going to start boiling up as we're still simmering on the other pots that we just put down on the tray last week. And honestly, I think it was a good balance of it. I think bringing back Skip Tracer Randy for another go around was amusing, and I feel like after the last few serious, straightforward episodes of whatever they were trying to go for, it was nice to kind of get a little bit of like a palate cleanser of like, yeah, we still got the stuff going on the side, but I believe the Skip Tracer Randy storyline was like the primary like focal point for the week. For this, just to kind of give a little bit of amusement, give a little like the tropes again that we love about the Rookie so much, and kind of just allow us to take a little bit of like, okay, there's some actual breath of fresh airs that we get to take here. And yeah, honestly, again, this just feels like one of those episodes where like you're a longtime fan. Some moments do kind of like bring it up as like, oh my god, it's you again, or oh my god, it's this again, and it was really fun to hear that. And as much as I'm okay with the whole setup for like of trying to make things work. I was also very intrigued by the fact that we're still a little bit deeper into the lawyer aspect of it. But it does really relate to our fellow Mid Wilshire officers, but it's just like everything's connected. And honestly, I'm very intrigued where they could go with that direction. I just hope they really do a good job on it, and not just like a fluff. But we'll see how it goes. We will see. But with all that being said, let's go through the Butcher recap and talk about this week's episode of The Rookie. So we begin with, where do we begin? I think it's Chen is waking up. It's been 2 weeks since the events at Westview, not Westview from WandaVision, Westview the insane asylum, and Chen is recovering much more smoothly than expected, but it's still a little sensitive, still a little like a little bit touchy. I believe the IA investigation has kind of continued from the original interview point, so we kind of bypassed all that, and Bradford is just being a good boyfriend, just making sure she's good. She's got everything she needs. Today's her first day back into the uniform. Which Bradford does advise if she's not ready for it, she can take a couple more days off. She can also just do office work for the day, if anything be. But Jen's like, no, she's supervisor. She needs to get back out there. She needs to be back out with her squad. So she doesn't want to take too much time off after that. And Bradford's like, okay, sure, no problem. But like, remember, you don't have to go back 100% right away. You can definitely take your steps and just take whatever you need to kind of get back to where you were before. Which she does appreciate that. Picking back up from there, we are... Where are we specifically? I'm trying to remember what the second scene was. I know for the top of my head that Miles is not in this week's episode. He's just not there. They don't even really give a reason. Assuming this is just his day off, naturally. I believe. Yeah, I'm trying to remember this. I think we're in the DA's office. Wesley's kind of filling in the very vulgar truth to Nolan, Juarez, Lopez, and Harper that it does not look good right now. It really does not good look for them right now for this entire thing. Obviously with everything that's gone on earlier and now, last week's episode, it may not seem like a direct victory for them. So best case scenario, Wes is going to offer a plea deal, try to avoid the courts and the publications, see if Glasser's willing to take it, and if he is able to, then definitely he'll be behind bars for a while, and then they will take much more time than needed to really build up a real case against him. Once they're not under a time crunch, it's not what they want, but at the same time, it prevents a serial killer from getting out the street. So today they have the plea deal meeting. Hopefully, this will be it, and that should do it. But we will see how that all turns out to be very, very soon. But it might be finally over, even though this has cost everyone a headache and a half. But that's the rookie for you. You can't really get out of things too easily at that sort. So picking up from that, I believe we're back in the precinct. Lucy's all outfitted up. Everyone's kind of like just acknowledging her, but like not really speaking to her. And then only Smithy, which I'm like, this is the longest route I think we've had in a while where we have not seen a good old fashioned Smithy. Who is the only one who breaks it? But again, apparently, Bradford only suggested to the officers just to keep it easy this week, or just not to talk to her. Period. Which Lucy respects the background of it, but she's supervisor. She needs to speak to everyone. So it's really like not the best move to play, but it is what it is on that point. It is what it is. But however, for the first time ever, probably ever in the rookie history, Smithy has been promoted temporarily to acting watch commander. Why did Bradford pick Smithy of all people? I don't know. Is it because he has the most seniority? Is it because like I really don't know. I really don't know what played Bradford to do so. Like, of all, we could have picked a random schmandom officer and just have them be in it. But I'm like, okay, it is what it is. He just wants to be writing with Lucy today, kind of pushing her back into the workforce very calmly, very seriously, and leaving it as B. Of course, Lucy doesn't really need that, but she's willing to do it just for the sake of it. Nolan and Juarez are in the chop. They're just talking brass tacks about things, about, Juarez really wants to like speak to Lucy, make sure that she's okay. No one's really gotten to speak to Lucy since the IA investigation opened up because, again, it's very sensitive. It's very, very personal, this information. And also, if they were acknowledged of it and the investigation turns into a lawsuit, they will be pulled in as witnesses of character. So definitely not exactly where they need to be right now. Not exactly where they need to be. So from there, I want to say is where we get to, where do we go from there? They get a response from a nearby Hollywood motel. They respond, there is a deceased body right next to the pool. The owner had no idea there was a deceased body. He just assumed he was just chilling there, smoking a cigar and calling it a morning. So they respond, they look around. It's a little bit gruesome. But when they're checking him out, he has a lot of IDs on him, indicating he's probably a scammer. They call over Lucy and Bradford for backup. But I forgot one more thing. While they're en route to the motel, Nolan gets a call from Zuzu, which, if you're unaware, was that AI, the creepy AI entity from last year, which I'm not surprised and also not. I was actually pretty shocked that we haven't forgotten about him. He's still around. It's kind of scary. Apparently, he's giving Nolan a heads up that, like, hey, your wife is being trailed by someone. There's been a lot of recent sudden activity in her name, in her background information. So just letting you know, someone's doing research on her, and it may not be a friendly person. So you should reach out to your wife, but in a very discreet, secretive manner, in case they are monitoring her activity. So Nolan. Well, that was the other reason why he called for a supervisor to talk to Bradford, see if he's got any connections. I'm trying to get like private access to the Pentagon, which Bradford said he knows some people. I'm like, Bradford, I know you were in the Army, but like, how deep does your web of connections go? Like, you got people all over the place. It's just like, damn. I mean, I'm getting older and I'm starting to get to that level too, but I'm just like, damn, this is crazy. Lucy responds to the dead body pretty, calmly, not really too much of the sort. It's not one of those like it's a recognizable scene and then it triggers you. It's more like just the specific moment itself. So they decide to canvas, go interview all the occupants of the motel unit. Maybe they got something on him, maybe. And they're scouring through. It's a bunch of randos until finally Nolan locks in the last door. It's our best friend, Skip Tracer Randy, which I love him. I love him so much. It's like, we got to have our annual visits with Randy. We got to have our annual visits. Apparently, he was also after the same individual, but he has lost track of him since he died. So, Randy, I don't know how you pay your rent. I really don't know, but it should be questionable. So he summons Nolan and Bradford in, going through the board itself, trying to like kind of give them a little bit of a lowdown. He was hired about not too long ago, but though Randy said it's been a couple years, a couple months, I forgot what it was, but he's been trailing back pretty deeply, using multiple, at least 10 different identities so far, maybe even more. But he, thankfully for his connections, he managed to find one legal name that connects them all, which is enough to kind of bypass a lot of the detective work and kind of go from there. But before they're able to like kind of progress into who exactly hired Randy, Nolan, I believe, Nolan gets a call from Bailey through a secure line. Obviously, Bailey's like so confused, like, why do I have a radio jammer? Why do I have a new brand new cell phone? What's going on? And Nolan fills her in, like, yeah, no, I've gotten some insight that you might be being watched and surveyed right now. And obviously, Bailey's like, well, I had a feeling that was going to happen, but at the same time, yeah, this probably all had to be connected with that secret room that Gray asked me to knock on a couple weeks ago, which Nolan does get a little peeved that, like, again, Bailey was asked for, but again, I know people are gonna be like, see, exactly the point, but at the same time, like, yeah, I know. And Nolan's like, yeah, he'll talk to Gray about this later, to deal with that, and so that's what they can do. Just have Bailey stay by, just make sure she's safe, make sure she's being careful, but most likely whoever these people are already have like everything bugged and traced in her retrospective. So definitely this is a concern for her right now, but Nolan will take care of that later. While Selena's finishing the last of the interviews, one of them, which I don't think is related to it, but just got spooked and like accidentally shoved her, and obviously they're trying to give chase to him. Randy does get punched in the internet trying to help them out, and sadly Randy lost his accent, which I'm just like, oh my god, which I'm like, I don't think I've ever heard the actor's real voice. Like, I remember he was in the Suicide Squad by James Gunn, but he died pretty quickly in that movie, so I do not quite remember how he sounded like in that movie. But yeah, Randy lost his accent, which is like big. This is a code red. This is a level 10 threat, which is not prominent for us right now. Nolan takes the time in the moment to kind of go visit Gray. I forgot to mention Gray did also have a visit with Bradford, just one checking on Lucy, see what's going on with her, and Bradford's like, yeah, she's going through the motions. I think she'll be fine. Gray, however, is not doing so well. It's been an additional 2 weeks since he and his wife last spoke. His wife reached out to potentially having a meeting, but Gray's like, unless the meeting has her resignation letter in hand and her basically, yeah, that's all that is. Gray's not accepting anything in the middle, which it hurts him because at the end of the day, he kind of just wants to get things back to normal. But at the same time, he knows his value, he knows his worth, and he does not want to always be living in fear of like, it's today the day my wife leaves me. So they're kind of an impasse on that, but no one's filed divorce paperwork yet. So there's still hope, but it's not the best so far right now. It really isn't. So Nolan goes up to Gray. Immediately Gray's like, what are you talking about? And Gray's like, oh, please, I know about the Fed operation. I know you asked her to knock on a door in the Pentagon, and now I know a bunch of creepy people with a tattoo is watching her. And Gray's like, oh, okay, yeah, you know about it. But like, how do you know about it? It's like, Zuzu. Well, actually, he hasn't mentioned Zuzu. He's like, well, we'll talk about it another time. But the point is that you put my wife in danger doing a federal operation that was not fully sanctioned by Garza, was a favor, but now she's in trouble. And Gray's like, okay, let me speak to Garza. Let me see if we can do anything to kind of give her protection. But again, this is all we can do right now. I'm sorry about it. I will never do this again. Which Nolan's like, okay, because right now that's all we need to focus on, just making sure she's safe and sound. We come back to the road. Bradford is watching Smithy like a baby cam in a nanny cam. Supposedly all Smithy has to do is just be on some Zoom meetings for representation, and he is barely passable, but he is like touching Bradford's stuff. He is like very much lazing about. He even like prints out a fake ass like picture of himself and puts it on top of the camera, so it seems like he's just working on the computer, but in reality he's just watching TV shows and eating candy, which I'm just like, that is lovely. That is lovely. Um, I believe from there we get to the hospital. Yeah, apparently, somehow the punch punched that block function in his brain that allows him to know the language, and I don't really understand it, to be honest with you. It's just like it's one of those rare like comedy things. You just kind of have to roll with it. And obviously he feels naked. He's like a part of himself is like gone, punched away, not knowing if it'll ever come back. But you know, in the interim, they got to continue onwards. Sadly, their supposed point of contact from Randy turned out to be a dead woman. So whoever was hiring Randy was using her own alias to go after a suspect that has a bunch of aliases. So it's kind of a weird round circle on that one. Yeah, from there, yeah, I forgot about the whole lawyer stuff. I forgot about that. Yeah, so apparently, Midwolshire got notified they're about to have their own interrogation sit down. Apparently, one of their recent serial killer, the one that I believe has been in there for a while, is the one that like did the really gruesome murders from like season 3 or 4. So apparently he's back again. However, he is trying to amend a part of his story. As remember back when we were just introduced to the larger Glassman stuff last year, while they were looking for some of his newer bodies as part of a plea deal, he admits that like, yeah, no, those bodies are not mine. I have no relationship with them. Trust me, I would claim them or not. But all of a sudden now he's saying, oh yeah, you know what, I lied. I just wanted to get away from it, and yeah, I was the one who actually killed him. At the same time, Glasser was supposed to take the plea deal, but he rejects it, saying that I'm not guilty, and if the plea deal says I have to plead guilty, I'm not taking it. So yeah, the timing on this is very, very, very sketchy. And obviously Wesley's like thrown to a loop considering the fact he thought this was going to be open and shut today. And then his rival comes in letting her know, like, yeah, no, I got some pretty big news. Like, you know, that other serial killer that you guys have already had for a while, he's apparently going to do a whole new confession to get a better plea deal. So yeah, apparently there's a rumor he might be confessing to the Glassman murders too. So I'm like, that's going to be such a big victory for the justice system. But at the same time, I'm like, bruh, you know, this was like Wesley's like victory case, and I'm like, this is not the first time I've seen this sort of thing before. I've reviewed Perry Mason from HBO, so I'm no stranger to like, this is the case that's gonna win me the election. So obviously there's a lot riding on this. This is like the biggest high profile of Wesley's career this year, and if he fails that, yeah, he's gonna lose point A to point B. I think from there, yeah, so they do regroup. Obviously, Wesley's appalled by it, but however, Lopez and Harper are not giving up. This is just way too much of a coincidence. Like, you know, what is the timing of this? So, they decide to go forward and like really test him out. Like, they're gonna bring out all the people that they found from that day and see if they can like make sure that these match point A to point B. Because this is getting really, really sketchy right now. And also, I forgot to mention before, when they worked together in the beginning of the episode, Nolan and Horace already scrubbed through all the footage from the daycare. The individual that made the confession last week had no outside interference with the handling of his drugs. So if it was someone, it was off cameras, but at the same time, it's very hard to prove anything of the sort. So they can't blame Glasser's lawyer as well. That so definitely they're like really stuck in a hard place right now. Um, I believe, yeah. By the time they take Randy back to the station, he's going through with the character artist to see if they can scrounge up. It's a very cartoony older lady. But however, Huart manages to find a lead on someone, specifically to a family that's related to one of the aliases that was used. Apparently, one of the aliases was used to buy a house in the area, and then that person threw a party, and one of the persons was found dead, and it turned to be related to this family. So like now there's like a bit of a mob connection there that probably would be more understandable to why that had happened. So they immediately decide to like get in touch with her, but they'll have to use the legal channels, which is going to be a little bit more slower since they need to really make sure, because this is not someone that's going to be easily able to come out of the shadows. Randy does want to help, but he's being benched on this one, and Randy's like, boy, I sound like an American, and I can't even help with my case. That's just all sorts of wonderful. Chen and Bradford do return back to the station just to take a sit for a bit and just kind of like to check on Smithy's day in charge. But before they're able to get in, the sister of the the man that Chen killed last time shows back up. Obviously, for some reason, she knows it was Lucy. Don't know why exactly. Again, maybe there's a press release or anything. I'm not 100% certain, but she wants answers because it's an IA investigation. They cannot disclose details of the case in case it does go to a lawsuit or to trial. They need impartial jury members, so they try to like limit to what the public knows to get ahead of it. Um, Obviously, Lucy is a bit taken aback. It's a little bit of a PTSD trigger. Bradford notices this. He immediately pushes her back, saying like take a breather over there. I'll go talk to her. And um, while she doesn't make a direct approach for her, she does like yell at her, saying that like he was a good man. He did not deserve to die. And obviously, Lucy really wants to tell her what's going on, but again, Bradford's advising her because of the investigation. She cannot. It's unadvised, so she does need to kind of stay in her lane and just kind of work for the rest of her shift, and call it a day. Or even Bradford offers, yeah, just take the day. Like you worked half of your shift already. Just leave it be. And even eventually, like he switches from boyfriend mode to watch commander mode, and he goes back into just barking at her, like just like, yeah, no, we're not doing this. Like you are 100% going to um go back into the office, stay there for the rest of your shift. So I believe from there, we're back in the interrogation room with the others. I believe, yeah, they're just trying to trick him up, seeing if he can, maybe miscorrect, provide some wrong information to kind of deny his plausibility. Sadly, as they're looking through all of the files, all the photos, he is literally matching everything point A to point B, and at the same time, um, he is also giving out information that was not relatively to the public. So there is a really, really big um, circumstance that, yeah, he probably could have committed the murders, and obviously even Wesley's appalled, like, this makes no sense. Like, why would he deny it a year ago, and then now he's saying like, oh, he did it? Like, it makes no sense whatsoever. It really does. It's like all of this is way too coincidental, and they're trying to formulate like really what the heck happened. And now they have a new speculation that it could be potentially that because the other serial killer, the one we known about for so long, has basically ran unlawyered, that technically he would need to be privy to certain information in order for him to properly defend himself. And that could be when he got the information from, which again should not have been allowed, but it is what it is, sadly. Or the other portion of it, someone else fed him that information, which in this case it would be Wesley's opponent who would see the blame of it. But again, even Wesley's like, there's no, it's very unplausible for me to believe that the my opponent, my rival, is willing to let a serial killer go on the street just to ruin my kid. But Lopez is like, hey, people gonna do what they can to win. If that means putting a serial killer on the street for them to get power, they wouldn't care. Which I'm like, that is honestly pretty true. Um, so from there, I want to say we get back over to um, where do we go over from there? Um, Eventually, I know Nolan and Juarez are running their usual ways to get in contact with the person, but um, I believe they found out Randy actually already made the contact and they're already on their way. So they're like, that's just, oh, that is just lovely, Randy. We love you, but at the same time, you put yourself at harm's risk way too many times to count. Um, so Randy's already trying to get his own thing going, trying to get his own like secret recording devices going, trying to like be prepared for anything. The guys show up via the vehicle, but they don't. But he doesn't see the older lady. She's actually already like snuck around the back with another bodyguard. Immediately, she's like, "Yeah, look, I may have hired you to do the job, but you should have known when to like back out. Like he's dead. That's it. Period. Like the job is done." Um, so yeah, so from there, without any other choice, he really is kind of screwed in the pooch right now. And even their question, what happened to the accent? He's like, oh, there's like a thing where like if you get really hit hard in the head, you're gonna lose your ex. Which I'm like, again, I will look that up when this episode review is over. But I'm just like, I strongly deny that happening. But again, but she manages to find the recording device, knowing that he was gonna like kind of turn her over as soon as this was over. And he's like, yeah, no, we're gonna take you away to a very quiet place. and we're gonna end you. And I'm like, this is the most direct way that you can like offer to kill someone ever. Like whatever happens to the good old days, like we're gonna take you somewhere quiet and somewhere very far away. Like whatever happened to those days, whatever happened. But so I believe from there, I'm gonna say point blank, we thankfully Chen denies what Bradford wants to say, and then just goes straight for helping her out with the arrest herself, going one v two with the armed postman at the front, but she is kind of struggling a little bit. It's only one person, and they got really heavier guns. Randy uses the situation to take out the other bodyguard and tries to help Chen by jumping over the railing to get into one of the men, while Bradford also shows up and takes care of the other individual, taking them both out. And thankfully, calling it safe for them, Nolan and Juarez immediately meet up with the other two, immediately arrest them, and yeah, case is closed. And thankfully, because of the secondary fall, Randy is back fully 100%, which is like 100% wonderful. That's just great. Our good old friend Randy's back. Hopefully not too long. Hopefully not too long. I guess from there, Wesley and the other lawyer gets summoned into the chambers of the judge, and apparently, whatever that's happened in the last few weeks, and just today, that the judge has found enough questionability to let Glasser go. It sucks. It really does. They won't get penalized for the attempt, but since with everything that's come to light, yeah, they don't legally have anything to like really pin Glasser on anything, so he's out. He's going to be a free man again, and obviously Wesley, in a matter of way, lost the case without any much, not even getting to court. Obviously, it's a huge blow to the team, for sure. Like they spent a whole season to make sure this man would get locked up. It did not work out. And Wesley is the most torn about it because again, this was supposed to be the case. That's supposed to take him to the DA's office. Now, not anymore. Now, essentially, for his boss, this is the end of his run. Like he lost on a whimper, which is not the best way to end your career on. But sadly, it is what it was, and he just goes to drink. And Lopez tries to let him know, like, hey, we're not done yet. We will now take the time to comb for every single little thing and make sure that Glasser gets back behind bars. And Wesley's like, I agree, but not tonight. Tonight, I'm just going to drink. I'm going to drink, and I'm just going to focus on that tomorrow, because today was definitely a loss by any stretch of the imagination. I want to say, yeah, I remember the last thing was that Nolan does get into, no, actually, not yet. Chen and Bradford finish off their shift properly, and obviously Chen's mad at him because, like, he should have let her just talk to her right away. And like, at the end of the day, this wasn't even a cop thing. This was a human to human thing. Like, she deserves to know how her brother died just so she can kind of understand it all and make peace with it. And even though Bradford is going to always have his moments of like being her watch commander, there will be times she's also her boyfriend. And this is one of those moments where like he admits that he should have like stuck with the boyfriend mode, should have just like let her do that thing to kind of let her process it in her own way, even though it's not recommended. But Chen is again like, if you want me to be a good cop, if you want me to do the best I can be in my job, I need to be a good person. And that requires these moments where I need to actually, stand up and like admit that like, yeah, I made a mistake or I did this action and I'm owning up to it. Even if that's going to cost me more problems down the road, which Bradford's like, I understand that and I'm going to support you. So the next day, when Oliver Strange, Chen does go up to the sister again and kind of like tells her everything that happened that day, the background of it, and saying that, again, your brother did nothing wrong. It was just sadly a chain of events that was survival of the fittest. If Chen would have died that day, yeah, her brother would still be alive. Yeah, of course. But, at the end of the day, Chen chose her own life over him. It's a very tough conversation to have. Of course, the other person would be like, we did not mean ill will on you, but at the same time, her family's gone. That's undeniable. And of course, you can think of point A to point B to point C, like whose fault really is it? At the end of the day, what's done is done. At least Chen is owning up to her portion of it, and the sister understands and believes her and trusts in her. That like that is the story. If you're gonna tell me that, then I believe it. I 100% believe it, and at least it kind of gives a little bit of like moving forwardness for Chen as she's kind of like still navigating for her feelings on this. back to Nolan and Gray. Apparently, off screen, they decide, you know what? Let's use this opportunity. If someone's watching Bailey and is involved with those criminals from a few weeks ago, then let's lure them out. Let's let Bailey go back to L.A., force whoever's watching her out, and 100%, like, hey, if you're here in LA too, it's no coincidence. It really is no coincidence. So thankfully they'll be able to wean out who exactly is the problematic source there, and hopefully they'll be able to get that figured out. Um, and then lastly, obviously the night before, Glasser was declared a free man. The case is over. Everything was said and done, and as a retort of it, he decides to visit Harper, trying to offer her a signal of peace and letting her know, I will be doing everything I can right now to bring my life back to where it was before. Which, I'm like, Glasser, you should cut it. You should just run away, go to another state, start over there. But honestly, like, you trying to like stay in LA, trying to do your business, yeah, you got cops after you. You are going to get caught again. So it's better just, if you got this, pandemonium addiction to killing, yeah, you're screwed in the pooch on that one. So yeah, Glasser will be behind bars, but this time Harper is going to do things the proper way. And also I forgot to mention, Harper was back in her civvy clothes this week. So whether or not because Miles was off this week, was off today, so they decided to just put her back in civvies. I don't know 100%. Maybe it was just like just a temporary relievement, a punishment for the day. I don't know. We'll find out next week when we come back. But yeah, that was it for this week's episode of The Rookie, which for me I found to be really good. I think this was a very nice kind of like pause, kind of like, we did a lot of like cool stuff the last few episodes. We really pushed ourselves to like the limitations of like showcasing the audience. We can still do new things when we want to. But this was one of those rare cases where like, yeah, this was just a simplistic episode from a story. Obviously, we're still continuing the storyline. Wesley's fight for DA is continuing. The Glasser storyline is continuing. Chen in her more recent PTSD experience. Now Bailey with this whole like being stalked by someone by a U.S. entity. But beyond that, like, I think Randy was the star again. Like, whenever Randy is on an episode, I'm just like, everything else like can be pushed aside. Like, I'm focusing on Team Randy over here. But that was a fun case. It was like really fun to kind of get to see the actor kind of stretch his muscles a little bit, do something differently, because when you show back up so many times, which I think it's been like 6 seasons at the most now since he's been on the show, which is really crazy. But it was a whole lot of fun just to see him again. The case of the week wasn't really anything too exciting for, but again, seeing Lucy and Bradford kind of still having to find a good balance between a relationship and a professional connection is still something that they got to work through. Glasser, like, I'm pretty sure Glasser and the other lawyers are going to be popping up again very soon. It's just going to really be a case of when, like, how is that going to all progress to be as we progress through the next couple of weeks with the series, with this season specifically. And the Bailey stuff, again, like, we only got like a little bit of nuggets here with that one. But regardless of that, I really am curious to see what they're going to do with that. I don't know. Like, this is kind of like, like, if this is not going to be the start of a long running thing, I don't know if that was worth it. But again, I mean, we'll see. We will see how that all shakes up to be. But with all that being said, I'm giving this episode 2 thumbs up. Let me know down below, what did you think of this week's episode of The Rookie? Did you love it? Did you like it? Let me know down below. I would love to have a conversation with you about it. But I believe that's going to do it for me today, everyone. So if you're unaware, this has been What's in 2 from ActionX, reviewing every episode in the 8th season of The Rookie. If you want to know what we're doing normally, What's in 2 besides our Rookie episode reviews. Right now we are we are doing Mad Log reviews each and every week after brand new is on CBS. But since it's a Rookie, we are a little bit behind on it. So please stay tuned as we work our way to catch back up on the catalog. But if you don't care about The Rookie, we will be back with another episode review next week. I promise that. So apologies for the delay, but we will be back very, very soon. But again, thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't yet. Like, favorite, share if you want to. Ring that bell and follow social media for more. But until we see each other again, thank you so much for watching. Please stay safe out there. Be good to each other. And as always, peace out.